This is Joyce Stewart, and this is my official YouTube channel. And I'm the author of the Barbecue series. This program is all about love, marriage, relationships, and Christian dating. And I have with me tonight a special guest. Her name is Toneal Jackson, and she's an award-winning author, and she is a how-to guru. And welcome tonight to Brides and Wives. Toneal, how are you?
I'm great, Joyce. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you for coming. I just want to let the audience know that you are a literal octopus. You have your hands in so many different directions, and it's hard to keep up with you. But I'm thanking God that you came on tonight to share a lot with us. So why don't you just start by telling us some of the things that you are doing today?
Wow. Well, you know what? I am a wife and a mom, so that's first and foremost keeps me busy. I've been married for right at 12 years. Next week, in fact, December 6th will be 12 years. I am a mother of many. I'm a licensed evangelist. And then in terms of the how-to guru, I pretty much dabble in a little bit of everything from writing to relationships, parenting, teaching people effective communication techniques, as well as money management.
Wow. Again, the octopus lady. I just thank you so much for coming on because you are a whiz. And one of the things I don't know if you mentioned it, I didn't hear you mention it, but I know that you're a licensed evangelist as well. And so I
Yes.
just want to say to the ladies that's listening tonight that this woman is a wise woman and God has given her many different things because she has been faithful in many different things. So also,
Oh,
let's just
yeah.
start again by talking about your marriage because, as we know, this is to encourage the women about longevity and being stable in all the things that God has given us. So how long have you been married?
It will be 12 years next week. So December 6th is my 12th year wedding anniversary.
All right. So congratulations beforehand in
Thank
case
you.
I don't get to talk to you. And
Thank
so how did you and your husband meet?
You know what? We met. This is really like a crazy story. It's crazy but true. The first time I met my husband, he came to the church that I was born and raised in, which is not now the church we attend, but he came to that church as a guest of a mutual friend. And the first time I saw him, I didn't even know his name. And God just kind of spoke to me and let me know that he was my husband. And I'm like, are you serious? I mean, because that's kind of how I talk to God. So I'm like, are you serious? Because really he was not the type of person that I typically dated or was interested in. But you know what? When God speaks, he knows what he's talking about. And 12 years later, well, actually 14 years later, because we dated for like a year and a half, and then we got married. And like I said, next week it will be 12 years.
Wow. This is amazing and fascinating things because, you know, first of all, I want to commend you because I know one thing. God can't tell every woman that her husband is whoever he is because they've been going over there and told that man and scared him away, and he'd be like, "No, I'm not." So
So no.
I want to commend you because the only way God can really trust a woman, and I know this for a fact, by elaborating and telling her that's your mate, is that she has to have a real, I would say she must be spiritually mature and have a really intimate life with him because that's really, to me, out of all of the stories that I've heard and even just dealing with women in general, God can't trust everybody with that.
That's
No.
true.
So that's a beautiful thing. Also, do you guys have any children together?
Oh my goodness, do we? We had what I call is my gift, which is my stepdaughter. I really don't like the term step. I use it because I know that it's societally, if you will, that's what society accepts. So being politically correct, she's my stepdaughter, but she's just my oldest daughter. And then we have four girls together, so we have five girls total.
Mm, 'cause I know you said that you are a mother to many, and so those are
Oh yeah.
your daughters by birth and by your relationship with your husband, and then, so that means that your
Mhm.
spiritual daughters that you've mentored many, you've mentored a lot of women.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I've raised my goddaughter. I had her. I had a friend of the family who I consider as my nephew, but he's not nephew by blood. But he was my grandmother's best friend's grandson. So I brought him in. I took care of him for about 7 years. And then I just have a host of nieces and nephews that I raised as well. So that's why I say I gave birth to 4. But when you add all of them who have lived in my house, it's about 10 or so. So yeah, I have been dealing with kids all of my life. Yeah.
That's amazing. And so when God spoke to you, I'm gonna go back a little bit about your relationship, or the fact that this was your mate and you weren't really, that wasn't something that you would have normally chosen for yourself. How did that work out? I mean, how did things happen? Did you start working in ministry with this person? Were you how did you get to the point where you started dating?
Well, you know what? It's really crazy because my husband and I think our common, next to God, our common passion is basketball. Like, people who don't know me would never know this, but I am a humongous NBA fan. Like, I love everything basketball as it pertains to the NBA. And so at the time, my dad actually coached my husband's basketball team. They had, like, it was a church team that was called Prayer Warriors. And so because I've always been a humongous basketball fan, I was like my dad's assistant coach. So that's how it would come to be that.
Oh, we lost you, Toneal. Okay, audience, I am so sorry, but I know that Toneal should be back with us momentarily. We are having a little bit of a technical problem, but we are going to resolve that. So she's going to just be able to pick up right where she left off. And she's back with us.
I'm sorry. I am so sorry about that. I hope that does not cause any problems. But continuing the story, we were friends for a year actually first. And during that time, I was tutoring his daughter. We were actually friends. His daughter absolutely loved me. And I was always going to the games because I served as my dad's assistant coach. And it really irritated me because I really liked him, but he always called me like sister, Sister Toneal, Sister Toneal. And I'm like, no, stop calling me sister. But, when it pertains to church, that's how we refer to each other. Is sister this, brother that, when you're in church. And I'm like, stop calling me sister. So like I say, it was really crazy because we probably were friends for a year before he got up the nerve to actually ask me out. And how he did it, he said it was, he was thanking, it was in appreciation for the fact that I was always watching his daughter or helping her with her homework. Mm-hmm. And so he wanted to take me out for that reason. And we've just been together ever since. And that first date was August of 1999. And here this is, November of 2013, and we're still together. So
that is incredible how you even remember the date of the first date.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He's definitely my true love. So almost everything good and bad about it, I remember. I remember it by the date. And what makes me feel good is that he actually remembers the dates too. Oh. Like, he might not remember the date, but he remembered the month that we started dating, and he also remembers, like, our first date, what we did, the movie we saw. So I mean, like, that makes me feel good too, that it's important enough for him to remember all this time later.
Yeah. So it sounds like he really did like you, but he just wanted to it just took him some time to feel comfortable enough to take it to another level. And the one thing I do love about it is that, I see a common thread when I speak to women about their I call them soulmates. It may not be the politically correct thing to say, but I mean, I feel like God connects us in our soul as well as in our spirit. Mm-hmm. So, I like saying soulmate because your soul really does have to connect to that person. And,
yes,
you can really become one is in the soul and in the spirit, right? So I just want to say that the common thread that I see here too is that when God gives you a mate and you have children or whatever the case may be, or family members, he usually does a divine connection between you all. That's not to say that everything is going to be smooth sailing, but pretty much from what I've seen, and maybe it's just a maturity issue as well, but I see that God is really, he knits and he threads that thing together. And so with that being said, once you determined that you guys were gonna, be courting and dating, and you wanted to get married, were there any things that came out as a result where you were thinking maybe not, or I mean, you knew this was your true love, but I'm sure that there was some, some challenges.
Issues. Yeah. I mean, and I think that's with everybody, Joyce, just to be honest. I
Yeah.
mean, to sit here and say, oh, no, there were no issues, everything was just perfect, would be just a straight up lie. And I just don't believe in telling lies. I tell it how it is. And the fact of the matter, one of the reasons, going back to something you commented on, one of the reasons why it was hard for him, because we've had this discussion before, for him to ask me out, is because my husband is actually 8 years older than I am. So
Mm.
we met when I was 18. We began dating when
Oh,
I was 19. So I was 19 and he was 27. So that
wow.
was one of the things that kind of had him pausing to see, whether or not he wanted to ask me out. But yeah, I've always been very mature for my age. My mom used to always tell me, she's like, Toneal, I know that when you get married, whoever your husband is going to have to be older because you're too mature for your age. You're more mature
Hmm.
than the average, 15-year-old, 18-year-old, however I was at the time. And so, like I said, we began dating when I was 19, and again, keeping in mind that he had a daughter who was 8 at the time. And
Hmm.
so at that time, there was a lot of baby mama drama going on. We are closer now, so all of that has really changed. But starting out, there was a lot of issues, a lot of insecurities on, I think, every part. There were insecurities on my part because, this was, again, my first true love. I was very young and immature naturally. And then with her, they had been together off and on for maybe about 10 years because, again, the two of them are closer in age than I am. And so, for it to be, oh, this is actually over for real, and he's actually going to marry this girl and take my child, and she's raising her, so now she's her mother. So I was dealing with that for a while, because he's always had full custody of her. And so it wasn't like the average relationship, the daughters or the children live with the moms and then the dad just, has weekend privileges. But in my case, I was raising her, because we had her from the beginning. So those were pretty much the obstacles that I had to overcome, just knowing how to adjust with the baby mama drama, as well as, raising a daughter that I hadn't given birth to.
My goodness. And you know what, and that's a subject matter that in the future, if you're available, I would like to bring you back and really deal with that subject matter, because I've interviewed you, and I've interviewed another young woman who happened to have similar issues in terms of getting in a relationship with someone who it was obviously with another woman who had other children, and or
Mm-hmm.
outside of the marriage, and it's tough, because you're still trying to become one with that person, but at the same time you're introduced to a family that's made already, and it's challenging because now
Yeah.
you gotta feel you fit into that, and that person has to be accepting, and I don't care how much that person raises their children well and respectable, but there are going to be some bumps in the road, right? So
Oh,
I
yeah.
want to
Oh,
really
yeah.
bring that subject matter in so that women really can have some instruments and tools on how you did it, because you did it. It worked for you, right? So
Oh yeah,
let's
she's
tell your
22 now,
story.
so we're through that. Yeah, yeah. As Tamar Braxton would say, she did that.
I love it. I love it. So also, let's also talk about some of the other things that you're doing in terms of mentoring women, and I want to get into about how you would, in terms of instructing or edifying women that are still waiting for their mates, and what are some of the things that you can share with them?
Well, you know what? For those who are still waiting, I would just encourage them to know, because my sister-in-law, she is about to be 40 and she's yet to be married. And,
Mhm.
she says all the time that she's really wanting to be married. She wants to be married. And I tell people all the time, you know what? You just continue to wait, because the Bible says, he who finds a wife finds a
Mhm.
good thing. And so many times as women, we get impatient. We feel like we know what we want, so let's just go out and get it. But
Uh-uh.
The Bible did not instruct us to go and find our mate. God told us to wait and our mates will find us. And so, I would just say while you're waiting, just continue to make sure that you're the best you for yourself that you can be. And
Yeah.
then once you get that partner, you'll be able to be good for him. Because so many times, we feel like, well, I can't make it if I don't have a man. That right there is a problem. Like as much as I love my husband and haven't been with him so long, I know that my life would be drastically changed if I wasn't with him. I'm also confident enough to know that I could still make it without him. Not that I'm wanting to, not speaking force, but I know that I can make it without him. And you have so many women who feel like their existence is totally dependent upon being with a man, being with somebody else's, intertwined with someone else's identity. And what I would say is, know and love yourself first, because if you don't love you, then you're not really going to be able to appreciate it when someone else actually does. So while you're waiting, get familiar with God, get familiar with yourself, so that way when your mate comes, you'll be ready for him.
Absolutely. I concur wholeheartedly. And I also think, and you can comment on this, is that a lot of women, and I can say from my own personal perspective, when I first got saved, again, for the umpteenth time, this time for real, I was very adamant with God, like as if this was a break it or make it deal. Okay, God, I'm saved now. I'm on the road. You told me to let go of the other one. Now, I know you're going to bridge this gap, because Joyce ain't going to wait for so long, because I ain't that waiting type. I ain't her. So, God, was promising me, and he was giving me prophetic word. I mean, I got words everywhere. And I was like, after years and years kept going by, I was like, what's going on, God? What's happening? Why am I being, tormented in this way? And what God was really trying to do is he was really trying to make sure that I was rooted and grounded in him, not in the way that I was going to walk away from him, but he meant intimately. And I couldn't capture that understanding for nothing. I was saying, I'm good. I ain't going anywhere. Like, I'm really, for real this time. I'm going to stick this out, and I'm going to serve you, and I'm going to do all the things that you've called me to do. And, so what ended up happening is that God really started showing me that I wasn't ready. And that was like a wake-up call I wasn't ready to wake up from. And so I think I have a feeling, and you can shed some light on that. When you look at certain women, you could definitely say, well, she's not ready. So what do you say about that when you mentor women?
I just really tell them not to rush. I try not to be judgmental, and that's on any level. Again, being an evangelist, I really have a strong spirit of discernment, and I rely on that in mentoring people. I never cast judgment, because the word of God says, judge not that ye be not judged. So I don't believe in judging people. I don't believe in telling them, hey, you can handle this or you can't handle this. I just tell them, make sure that you are prepared for them. I give people the honest truth. I tell people all the time when they ask me where I live, I reside on Blatant Truth Boulevard. That's exactly where I live. If you don't want the truth, the unadulterated truth, do not ask me. I am the one. If you don't want to know that you look fat or that that's not right, don't ask me, because I am going to tell you, But I tell people all the time, I tell women all the time, just be, make sure that you want a relationship for the right reason. Because one of the things I found in certain women that I've mentored is that they want to be in a relationship because all their girlfriends are in a relationship, because they're tired of being alone at night, because, they want to be able to be a couple on couples night. That's not why, those are not the reasons to want to be in a relationship, And so I think that a lot of times people don't even know the reason why they should be in a relationship. So I think, again, it goes into more understanding who you are as a person, and not just trying to fit in, not just trying to be politically correct and, well, because I'm 30 years old or I'm 40 years old or I'm 25 years old and by this time I thought I was already supposed to be married. We have all of these preconceived notions, and it has nothing to do with love. It has to do with we're trying to do things by our time frame. And it's not about us. It's about God. We want to make sure that we're in God's will at the end of the day. And we have to believe that if it's God's will, that when it's his time and when it's our time, it'll happen.
Absolutely. I definitely agree that we have to be in sync with what God wants, because I kind of really believe that it's just like when you give someone something and they're not ready for it. You can't give a child a keys to a car and tell them that, you know, I'm
Mhm.
going to bless you, because it will not be a blessing at that stage. And I think that in
Exactly.
relationships, it's the same thing, is that if you give someone something that they're not able to handle at that point, because let
Mhm.
me tell you something, it doesn't matter if God gives you the person that he wants to give you at any time of the, you know, the purpose that he wants to give it to you, it's still going to be challenging, because you're bringing two people together, and you're going to
Exactly.
challenge one another. You know, you're going to have your tests, your trials, and your tribulations anyway. So you have
Mhm.
to have some spiritual depth to you. You got to know how to pray. You know, you can't
Mhm.
just, you know, look cute or whatever the case may be, and like you say, just be a item. You know, I think
Mhm.
women do like that look, like, oh, look at me and my boo, or, you know, whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
They have that mentality, like, you know, we look good together. And,
Right.
you know, I think
They're
too,
in love with the idea.
yes,
Mhm.
they're in love with the concept of being in love. I think I was very much
Exactly.
like that when I was growing up. Is I was in love with the concept of being in love, but when I was
Mhm.
actually in love, I was like, this is hard. It's hard. It's hard work.
It is.
It
It's
really
work.
is. It's a
Yes.
job. It really is a lot of
Mhm.
work, because you are
Mhm.
you're going to have to change some things about yourself. I don't care how much you think you don't.
Exactly.
You really do. And you got to learn how to not change and compromise too much, because you got to still be who you are. You can't, you know, if you're in
Mhm.
a relationship that's going to challenge you to be not who you are, that's definitely not the right relationship. So you got to know the difference between a
Exactly.
compromise and compromising of who you are. And you can't know those things
Mhm.
unless you have your esteem together, your self-worth or your image. You're not going to be perfect, but you need to be ready. You need
Exactly.
to be ready
Exactly.
when it comes. So
Exactly.
so that's I think that's the thing that women really have to look for, is that it's not like God is holding him back because, you know, he's playing peekaboo or anything like that with you. He's just trying to
Mhm.
protect you and make sure
Mhm.
that you're not hurt. And he also wants to make sure his son, because that's God's son, he doesn't want him to be hurt
Mhm.
either. You know, he doesn't want to,
That's so
his son to be caught up in spending and wasting all of his time on a woman and energy and his praying time trying to raise a woman. He doesn't want him wasting his anointing on that. It's supposed to be a collaboration, a partnership, ministry, purpose. These are the concepts of marriage. The
true.
institute of marriage is to do God's will and his purpose. And I think if
Mhm.
the woman is doing, see, that's why Ruth was able to not find Boaz, but be found, because she was doing what God wanted her to do. Right? So she wasn't sitting there, you know, sitting by the roadside
Exactly.
saying, well, when is he going to
Exactly.
come? I'm just going to take a nap and see if God's, you got him yet, God? You know, no. He has to, you have
He
to be
was
working.
walking in her purpose.
Hmm?
Exactly.
Yes. So tell us some more about what you're doing in terms of your books. I know that you're pumping those out, and I just want to know what. Tell us something in terms of the style of books that you're writing.
Well, you know what? I am a nonfiction self-help expert. That's what I do. I help every
Can you hear me, Toneal? Uh-oh, we lost her again. Well, she's going to come back momentarily. I do apologize that we are having these technical difficulties, but, you know, we're just going to keep waiting on God. This spectacular woman of God has really got so much a wealth of information, and here she comes again. She's back with
back again. I'm back. You can't get rid of me. You can't get rid of me. But as I was saying, I currently have 6 books out, and I'm working on a 7th. But
us.
I am a nonfiction self-help expert. That's what I do. I have 2 children's books, but they are both loosely written based upon my experience experience raising my 4 girls, and so it's still nonfiction in that realm. But I also, my first book was actually called Please Your Partner, A Spiritual Guide to Happiness. So it was a relationship book, and it's biblically based. And a lot of times, you know, it used to irritate down the happiness acronym, the word happiness, into an acronym, and it represented various principles or traits that I felt that would be helpful for individuals. And people would say, okay, well, it says pleasing your partner. I don't have a partner, so I don't need the book. And you know, I'm saying to them, you don't have to have a partner to want to be your best self. And so, you know, happiness broke down to humility, assurance, peace, prosperity, integrity, newness, endurance, submission, and strength. So those were all traits that I brought out in that book. And again, it was biblically based. And that was my first book. With that book, I actually ranked #3 for the National Black Book Festival's Best New Author. So I was really proud of that book. And then, like I said, I did 4 Girls, A Lot of Choices. And I recently released 4 Girls Learn Their Colors. So those are my 2 children's books. And then I have 2 more books. It's called It's to Say It All, How to Communicate with Your Partner. And that was kind of a follow-up in sorts to Pleasing Your Partner, but it's different in the fact that this is really more so a book geared on effective communication. So it's not necessarily just a partner in terms of relationship or spousal relationship, but it's more so anyone that you talk to. So anyone that you have a conversation with is someone who could benefit from getting this book, because it breaks down effective communication, how to read body language, the importance of nonverbal and verbal communication, you know, just ways to communicate with your partner. And then I also had how to communicate with your kids. And that book stemmed from the fact that because I've raised so many children, all different ages, and people would say all the time, how in the world can you, you know, deal with them and have such a good relationship with them? So kind of all of the answers to that is revealed in that book. And then I have Inspiration from Above, which is actually a book that I won the Reader's Favorite International Book Award for this year. I got the silver medal this year. So those are the books that I've written, and I am currently working on a book with Dominique Wilkins, who you just recently had on your show, entitled Out I'm In. And in that book, we kind of discuss some of the things we've been talking about. Amongst those issues, the 7 issues we discussed, and one of those issues are blended families. So we're looking to have that book out in time for the holidays.
That is amazing. I know I had a little sneak preview, and I was like, that's it? Where's the rest of the book? I was like,
oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah, right. That's not right to give me a little taste, and I couldn't get any more. So I'm going to be one of those people that's going to do my pre-order of my book. I don't know about you guys, but you women is going to get some of these books. I didn't hear you, dear.
Yes, you can go to either of our websites. I say, yeah, please pre-order the book for you or any of your viewers. Please pre-order it. You can either go to either one of our websites. My website is tonealstodos.org, so that's www.tonealsto-dos.org, or you can get it from weareaps.com. We are WEAREAPS.com.
You are ahead of the game. I was about to tell you to tell them where they can get your information, but you're there. But you know what? I'm also going to put it at the end of this video as in the credits, because I want people to remember it, and I want them to be able to slow up the video if they need to, so that they can read the site and actually be able to record it themselves. But I thank you so much. I mean, it's just, I don't have enough time in the day to just tap on everything that you've done, but I do hope that you'll come back with us again, and we can talk about that blended family. And we can, you know, I think a lot of women too, you know, women have to really understand that God may give you something that you didn't ask for, okay? Like you didn't ask to, you know, really go into a family like that. And the thing is that that's why we have to really be ready, not just on a level of, you know, just working in the field, but sometimes when we're working in the field, God takes some things out of us. He grows us up in some areas. And what if he wanted to give us a great mate, but there may be some strings attached to that great mate that you might not be like wanting to do? And so that's where the preparation process has to begin, is that you have to be willing to take on everything that goes on with that person, and vice versa.
Exactly.
So that's the clue. I mean, I begin to see some things, like I said before, that I was saying, oh, that's what you was talking about, God. So I just want to thank you because you're a great inspiration for women, and I also want women to, be able to have the ability to, even if they wanted to reach out to you in your organization, you also promote authors as well. So I want them to go on, what's that, authors promoting
Success. Yes,
success.
Office Promoted Success. They can just go to www.wearaaps.com. They can get all of that information. In fact, we are doing a great holiday special where we'll promote you for 3 months, only $100. So it's less than $35 a month. It includes listing your events as well as radio interviews. You get listed on the page, and your book is included in the bookstore and a host of other things. So again, they can just go to www.wearaaps.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Toneal, for being our guest tonight. And I just want to say thank you, everyone who's tuned in to the Brides and Wives show. Ladies, keep it holy and let God make you virtuous. And God will send you that perfect mate in due time and in due season. So have a great night. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you, Joyce.
You're welcome. Good night.